Hey guys, how's it going? It's Jay from Sony Alpha Lab, and what I got for you in this review is the Laowa Argus 33mm f/0.95 lens from a company called Venus Optics. Now, this is a very high quality lens, but it is fully manual, just to let you know. So it's made for those who are into fully manual lenses and want the best quality possible. It's a super high quality optic, as you will see in the lab. I did some extensive lab testing. It has some killer lens flare. That's some of the coolest I've ever seen, honestly, on any lens. So I used my Sony a6400 for this review, and I'm going to show you what this lens can do in the real world. It was a lot of fun to use, and you know, manual focus lenses are definitely harder to use than autofocus lenses because you have to manually focus. But there's tools built into the Sony cameras like focus peaking and focus magnify, which make it a lot easier, and that's what I used when I did the lab testing and stuff like that. So this lens goes for about $500 US, and it's kind of a direct competitor to the 7 Artisans. You know, has a very similar lens that's 0.095, so I'll quickly compare it to that lens as well in this review, so stay tuned for that, and let's just get right into it. Alright, so here we are looking at the box that the lens comes in. It's a very nice box. It has some cool packaging. It's got a nice, this thing just comes out and then the box opens. Nothing really too crazy, but I wanted to show it to you because I thought it was pretty nice. Let's move that over here. And here we got the lens. So just check this guy out. Really, really high quality. See the all metal design and just super fine engineering. So like I already mentioned, this lens does go for $500 US. It comes with this square style lens cap that comes with this cool lens hood. Now this lens hood does come off, as you can see here. You can take it off if you want, but I actually really like it. It's a metal lens hood, and it's really high quality feeling. And you can see just how large that glass element is on the front. It's huge, and that's what makes it so fast with that f/0.95 aperture. So you can see here the aperture ring is smooth and it doesn't have any clicks, and it goes from 0.95 all the way up to f/11. Now this lens is designed for the crop factor cameras, and in my case I was using the Sony a6400, so what you end up getting is approximately 49.5 millimeters. So it's about a 50 millimeter f/0.95 effective lens, which is amazing. And it's, you know, you can get some killer types of creative shots, as you will see in the sample photos coming up shortly. Now the lens has 14 elements in 9 groups. It has 1 ED element, 1 spherical element, and 3 ultra high refraction elements in there as well. It also has a very long focus throw, as you can see here. Just look how much I have to turn this to get it through the whole focus range. That's what the focus throw is, like how far you have to turn it. And it's got a lot of focus throw. It also has very little focus breathing, which is great for those video users out there that don't like focus breathing, because it is kind of distracting. Now it has a minimum focus distance of 13.8 inches or 35 centimeters, which is not too bad. You can get some killer separation at that distance. So the aperture ring is a stepless design, and it does not have a lock anywhere on it. I kind of wish it had a lock, but it does not. So you just have to be cognizant of where the aperture is set to when you're using this lens. The filter size on the front is 62 millimeter, and you just have to take the lens hood off in order to put a filter on there. It has a 9-blade aperture diaphragm in there, which is kind of hard to see at this angle, but you can see it right there. That's the 9-blade aperture, and that's very, very smooth. Now the lens weighs in at about 20.8 ounces or 590 grams, so it's not exactly light. It's pretty darn heavy, but with that you get, honestly, top quality engineering and metal, you know, pretty much all metal design. And you know, it reminds me of the, you know, super high quality Zeiss lenses and things like that. Everybody's interested in, you know, lighter weight, so manufacturers have been really pushed in that direction a lot lately. So let me just show you what this looks like on my a6400 that I used for this review here. Now, just like any other lens, it's got the red dot right there, or sometimes it's a white dot. You just line that up with the lens mount that has the white dot on it, and you turn and it'll click on there. So that's what she looks like mounted to the Sony a6400, and it's very easy to use with this camera. It feels pretty good in the hands. It is definitely like front heavy because the lens has quite a bit of weight to it, but with this nice smoothly dampened focus ring, it's super easy to get precise focus, I found. And I was able to get the dog's eyes sharp in the shots that you'll see in the sample photos, and some of the kids and things like that. I was super impressed with that long focus throw. Because it just helps you dial in the focus accuracy so much easier than the shorter focus throw lenses that I've used in the past. So let me just show you really quick what the 7 Artisans lens looks like in comparison here. So here's the 7 Artisans lens, and this is a 35mm f/0.95 lens. And you can see it's much smaller comparatively, and it's also much cheaper. This lens only costs about $250 US. And it's very similar as far as like optical range, you know. This one's more like a 52mm effective or something like that. Now the 7 Artisans lens is a lot cheaper and it's a lot of fun to use, but the optical quality is not even close to the optical quality on this Laowa lens. This is far superior optical quality than the 7 Artisans. That doesn't mean that this lens isn't good for the money, because it's a ton of fun to use and get very creative shots. But you know, if you're looking for that corner-to-corner sharpness and zero fringing and things like that, you're going to be much better off going with a higher quality lens like this Argus here. All right, let's move on to some sample photos and show you what this lens can do in the real world and lab. All right, guys, so here we are in Lightroom, and I'm just going to go over the lab testing photos really quick here. So first thing I wanted to show you was just the distortion, because there is a little bit of distortion, but it's very well controlled. Now, I don't have a lens profile for this created or anything, but I can play with the distortion here to show you just how you can fix it if you want. So you can see right about there, you can see it's pretty much fixed. So that's pretty much what you're looking at with the distortion on this lens. It's really not that bad, but there is just a little bit of it. Now, this was taken wide open at f/0.95. So let me just zoom in here, and you can see the sharpness quality, and it does lose a little bit of contrast at f/0.95, but the sharpness is very good, even in all the way here in the corners. I was very impressed. I wasn't expecting it to be this sharp in the corners at f/0.95. It is definitely lacking a little bit in the contrast department. You could see like the dollar bill is like a little bit washed out looking. And the bokeh balls in this case do look a little bit strange from this distance, but it's just the type of light source, I think, because you can see the light source here is a much larger bulb, and that bokeh looks killer. And as you'll see in the minimum focus distance testing and real world photos, the bokeh rendering is absolutely outstanding on this lens. But like I said, in this particular case, it does look a little bit weird on these bokeh balls from the very small Christmas lights that I was using. So now I stopped it down to f/1.4 here, and you can see now the bokeh balls are a lot more crisp, although they did start to octagon just a little bit. So it would be nice if this had an 11 blade aperture or a more rounded 9 blade aperture. But you can see here the contrast did crisp up a little bit on the dollar bill, and it's a little bit more detail, not washed out like it was a little bit on the 0.95, as you can see here. It's not too much of a difference though, it just crisps up that little bit, you know what I'm saying? And then if I zoom into the corners, you can see the sharpness is absolutely killer at f/1.4. So then I stopped her down to f2, and I'll just run through here so you can see a little bit of vignette starts to go away here at f2. You can see the darkening in the corners here on the bottom left in particular. See that darkening in the corner kind of goes away? All right, so here we're looking at f2, f2.8, f4, f5.6, and f11. So let me put it back to f5.6 and zoom in here so you can see pretty much at the best quality. f5.6, you're going to get absolute killer sharpness across the board, maximum contrast, and that's pretty much the sweet spot for this lens if you want peak sharpness from my testing. Now moving on to the minimum focus distance test, here's what we're looking at. This is approximately 14 inches, 35 centimeters away, and it is pretty difficult to focus at something this close with such a narrow depth of field, but you know, this is the best I could do. And it performed pretty good. I mean, it's not razor blade sharp, but again, the depth of field is so shallow, it's really hard to nail it down using, you know, focus peaking and stuff like that. So I just basically used the focus zoom feature, the manual focus zoom feature, to get this as sharp as I could. Now I am seeing a little bit of blue fringing here, as you can see in the out of focus areas on the A. If I go to 200%, you could see it right here. See that blue fringing? But it's really not that bad, and that's honestly very well controlled. Let me stop it down. This is actually f1.1, and you can still see a little bit of that blue. And then this shot is f2, and now you can see that fringing is pretty much gone at f2 at 200%, and that's 100%. So you can see how sharp it is at f2, and just look at those bokeh ball renderings. Let me get rid of that. All right, so let me just run through the aperture quick. So we're looking at here, we got f0.95, f1.1, f1.4, f2, f2.8, f4, f5.6, and f11. So let me go back to f5.6 here and just zoom in on the quarter so you can see pretty much maximum sharpness there. It's absolutely killer. And f4 as well, absolutely killer. f2.8, you can see here, razor blade sharp, fantastic. f2 is also very, very sharp. And here's f1.4, again, extremely sharp. The depth of field is starting to come into play here on the quarter, but overall, I would say really excellent quality optically performing in the lab. All right, let's move on to some real-world photos, shall we? All right, guys, so looking at the real-world photos, I got a whole bunch here to show you, so let's just jump right into it. Now, this is my good friend Craig. I work with him, and this was just a snapshot taken at work, but you can see here, I mean, just the quality is fantastic. Look at the out-of-focus rendering on his boot here. That's super impressive in the background. Again, nice 3D pop on that one. Now, I got these cool headphones here, and I was just taking a quick shot, and I was holding the camera with my right hand, and I just had the little case held out in front of me in my left hand. And also, most of these shots were taken wide open at f0.95. I'll let you know when I stopped it down. Now, here's just one to show the narrow depth of field. This is like looking down that room I was in. I was in this room, so looking at on the right hand side there was this social distancing thing on the wall, so I just wanted to show you how the depth of field fall off will just render this room into this amazing blur, and just super impressive. It's so fun playing around with the depth of field. Now this is just a test for super high contrast, and I wanted to show you how well this lens performs in that area. Look at that, black on white right there. And I don't see any fringing or anything visible there to note. Just a quick out of focus snapshot of the bokeh ball renderings from the lights on my staircase. Here's a quick snapshot of Layla, and you can just see the background out of focus. I mean, look at that. Let me zoom in here, look at more detail. Just look at that sharpness on her eye. It's exceptional. And the color clarity, really nice. I really like the punchy color and clarity that this lens produces. Again, it reminds me of like something Zeiss puts out, like the Zeiss Batis lenses, for example. They have that really punchy contrast, and this lens actually reminds me of that. Now, you want to see some crazy awesome lens flare? Look at this. I've never had a lens that's done lens flare like this, and it looks absolutely unbelievable when you shoot into the sun wide open. Now, obviously, this might not be a usable shot, like depending on what you're doing, but if you're looking for something creative, this is an awesome tool in my opinion. And here's one without the sun in the frame, so you can see how you can get lens flare or no lens flare just by changing your position slightly. And here's another one. Just that depth of field is killer. You can see how the rock butters out, and then the background butters out. I mean, really, I love the way it looks. Now looking down at a glass of beer here, you get that nice 3D rendering, and when you zoom in, you can see just how sharp the lens is. Now here's one shooting into the sun, just a snapshot, and you can see behind Layla is totally blown out, but again, the color and clarity maintained in that bright backlit scenario is super impressive. Now here's a couple more lens flare shots for fun. Check this out. How cool is that? Look at this one. This almost looks like I did this in Photoshop or something, but this is right off what this lens does. Now this one I did add a little bit of contrast, but this one's straight off the camera. And these are raw files. So straight off the camera raw file, this is what you can expect in a scenario like this. And of course you can punch it up by dragging the contrast a little bit like I did here. Get a little more clarity. And here's another one of Laowa. And just one more. I just wanted to show the hair and stuff like that. And look at this. This was, I was just holding a rock in my hand, like this glass rock. And I wanted to show off that lens flare. It is so cool looking in my opinion. Here's one of Jace playing his Fortnite. If I zoom in here, you can see sharpness and clarity is excellent. He's got like gook on his face because he was just eating pizza or something. And here's just one of my bike on the bike stand. I was doing some maintenance, trying to get the gears working a little better. And again, excellent color, clarity, and whatnot. I was using auto white balance, so the colors are actually a little bit off, but the contrast in particular is very good. Sharpness, very, very good. Here's just another one at a different angle. And here's just a snail I found outside, and I really like this shot, so I wanted to illustrate some depth of field play. And you can see how it has like a slight curvature on the edges when you're looking at the tree bark. And if I zoom in, I mean, that's just fantastic. Look at that. Awesome, awesome clarity. I think I was at like f2.8 for this shot. Same thing with this one. You can see just that unbelievable out of focus. This was super narrow, so I think I was wide open for this particular one. So this one was wide open, and then this one I stopped down to f5.6. You can see the difference. And let me zoom in so you can see that depth of field is super, super narrow. And then here at f5.6, you can see everything just crisped up really nice. Here's one of my buddy Caesar. It's my neighbor's dog. I was watching him for a weekend. And again, look at this color, clarity, contrast, and punch. I mean, raw file, this is remarkable. It doesn't even need anything. It just looks so good straight off the camera. Here's another one, a little bit brighter, high contrast on the fur. And just awesome, awesome quality. Look at this. Let me zoom in so you can see. Just look at that clarity on the eye. Super sharp. And all the detail on the hair and stuff. I mean, this lens is really, really good quality. Manual focus might not be for everybody. I get that. It is harder to use and it's slower. It's definitely more of a challenge, but you can get some unbelievably good results at a very affordable cost compared to like some of the GM lenses, for example. Another awesome manual focus lens option, of course, is the Zeiss Loxia lenses. They are optimized for the full frame cameras, not the APS-C cameras like this particular lens. Doesn't mean you can't use them though. And here's just another one where I wanted to show you the difference between depth of field and stuff like that. And you can see how when it's wide open, it is a little bit more washed out. And when you stop it down, it does get a little bit more clarity to it. Here's just a picture of a beer on the deck here, just taking a quick snapshot. And then I looked down and I edited this one a little bit, just added some contrast. But look at that. It's like dreamy. It almost looks kind of fake. And that's just what you can get with a lens that's capable of such incredible fast apertures. Now looking down at Caesar, look at this one. I was super happy with this one. I actually did edit the contrast on this one a little bit. So I added a little bit of punch to it. But I mean, that's just a fantastic shot. And you can see the depth of field of the deck. It just blurs out and really makes a nice 3D image. Just another snapshot of Jace and Caesar. Now check out this burger I made the other day. Oh my gosh, was it killer? If you zoom in here, you can see that crispy bacon and cheese and stuff. Really, really nice quality. Very narrow depth of field. This was at f4, this particular shot. And then I took pretty much the same shot at f0.95 just to show you how the depth of field, see how the bun is actually a little soft here? That's how narrow the depth of field is. So I focused on the bacon. Now here's just another one shooting into the sun, and again, look at that cool lens flare. I did that on purpose to try to make it look more, you know, dreamy and stuff. Here's just a landscape snapshot off my parents' deck, and I was really happy with how this turned out. Nice color, clarity, and just cool cloud formations. That's just a snapshot of my mom's Jeep and my dad's truck. Let me zoom in here so you can see the clarity. It's absolutely fantastic. This was taken at about f4 because it was so bright out, and I was hitting the maximum shutter speed. I was tapping out at 1/4000th of a second, so I had to stop her down to like f4 for that shot. Here's one of Jasmine. She loves to sit on my dad's shoulder, like right behind him, and that was just a really cool shot, I thought. She was getting sleepy. Here's one of Layla. And just look at the hair. You can see the hair blowing in the breeze. This is a little bit flatter in color. I could use just a little bit of color here. This is just one looking up. And if I zoom in, you can see the depth of field is just crazy narrow. So I kind of missed it just a little bit on that shot. But then I took this shot and it came out a little bit better. And here's just one of Jace holding some pizza. You can see that depth of field is really incredible. All right, guys, let's move on to the conclusion. All right, guys, so at the end of the day, I had a lot of fun using the Laowa 33mm f/0.95 lens. It was just a lot of fun to use, and the optical quality is killer. The contrast and color rendition, as well as the out-of-focus bokeh renderings, are really nice. The focus breathing is very well controlled for those video users out there that are concerned with focus breathing in particular. It's a lot less than many other lenses that I've used in the past. The build quality of this lens is absolute top notch. It's quite beefy, it weighs a lot, and it's all metal, and it has very high optical elements inside the lens, which yield almost no distortion, and it's just a really, really good optic in my opinion. So if you're looking for something that's manual focus and extremely high quality, I highly recommend checking out the Venus Optics lenses. They have a lot of lenses, and I have used a few of them in the past, but I never reviewed any of them. I just tested them really quick here and there, and I was always impressed, so I was super happy to get my hands on this Argus lens because it's absolutely killer. And you know, if you're in the need for a lens like this, I highly recommend this one. There's quite a few out there, like I said, Artisans, Medicon, and there's a couple others out there that compete. But in my opinion, this is definitely one of the best for this particular market. It's optimized for the APS-C cameras, and it really produces some killer quality at the end of the day. So that is pretty much it for this review. If you guys have any questions, please be sure to ask in the comments below. And do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and notification bell if you want to be notified of new reviews and things like that, because I have a lot more reviews coming soon, including a mountain bike follow-up review and another mountain bike review. I know that might not be your thing because you're more into Sony cameras and lenses, but I'm just giving you a heads up. I also have a camera slider coming, which I can't wait to try out. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. So thanks again for checking in, and I will catch up with you guys next time. Be safe out there and have a great day. All right, take care.